It's a great time to do some more exploring. I'm Joseph, this is Input English. Today I'm thinking in terms of perseverance. If at first you don't succeed, try again. That's something I was taught as a kid, and it's something I try to remember. Don't give up too easily. Really, those are words to live by. The other day I made a video from the Sanborn Park. I was in search of physical evidence of the San Andreas Fault. We live in an area where there are a lot of earthquakes. There's a lot of seismic activity, and it's part of our history here. I mentioned the 1906 earthquake that destroyed a good bit of San Francisco, and I also mentioned the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake, which caused a lot of loss of life and a lot of destruction. People were displaced from their homes from that earthquake as well. In fact, the house in which we live was red tagged. So red tagging is a slang term. I don't know how widely it is used, but what it means is that the officials, the authorities, deemed that our house was not habitable. It was too dangerous. Now, we didn't own it at the time. We were not involved. We were living in Sacramento, and although we felt the earthquake in Sacramento, we didn't have any real effects of it. But the house that we subsequently bought was red tagged. That is, it was deemed uninhabitable, and then major repairs had to be done. Basically, the house broke in half. The foundation of the house split and shifted. Luckily, the owner who had that house had enough insurance to get major repairs made. So now the house is fine, but it appears that hundreds of thousands of dollars were spent based on insurance coverage to remedy that destruction. When we lived on the East Coast, we tended to be more focused on the other natural disasters that are more common there, such as hurricanes and tornadoes. In this area, we don't see hurricanes, we see big winter storms, but hurricanes don't happen in this locale. But earthquakes do. And so it's natural that we would have some degree of fascination with the natural disasters which are common in this area. The other day, when I recorded in the Sanborn Park, I couldn't come up with any definite physical evidence of the San Andreas Fault, even though it runs through that park. No features were labeled, nothing was obvious, and I was unwilling to guess. When I returned home, I did some online research and found that this location offers us some advantages on that topic. This is the Los Trancos Open Space Preserve. There are lots of hiking trails, and the reason I came here is because some educators from Foothill College established a trail that showcases some of the features of the San Andreas Fault. So I proposed to take a hike on the San Andreas Trail here at Los Trancos Preserve. It's an overcast day, which is really ideal for hiking and recording. We don't have to deal with bright sunlight and hot conditions by any means. It's a nice, cool day. And hopefully the light is conducive to making good videos. So let's head out the trail. When they set up this trail and the way it has been maintained, they have little signposts. And each signpost is a location about which certain things are known, and the internet provides us with a PDF which explains what these signposts represent. The first one is up here, a rather short distance. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to take advantage of this first one because they're going to call our attention to things you can see on the horizon. There are some mountain peaks that you can see from here that are pertinent to the geography. Unfortunately, on this overcast day, those mountain peaks are obscured by this marine layer fog that we have today. The trail has taken us into the woods, and you can see I'm just emerging from a little tunnel created by these trees. This would provide very welcome shade on a hot, sunny day. Today it shields us from the little droplets of water which are in the air. It is not raining, but as you probably know, a cloud isn't water vapor. A cloud is water droplets. But most clouds, those water droplets are tiny, so they stay suspended in the air. They don't fall as rain. As water droplets in a cloud aggregate into larger and larger drops, eventually they become too heavy to remain suspended in the air, and we get rain. Makes sense. So we are indeed in a cloud. This is marine layer coming in off the Pacific, very moist air, which has been driven upward by the terrain. As air rises, as it follows the terrain upward, it cools, and as it cools, it becomes oversaturated with the water, and you get a cloud. This area gets a lot of this marine layer, and the plants adapt to this environment. One of the things we get is moss. Moss needs a lot of moisture. Moss is very well adapted to changes in the moisture level because these mosses can go dormant. If you dry them out, they don't tend to die, they just go dormant. And then when moisture is available, they come back. This moss here on the tree is relatively dry, but it's very healthy owing to its location where there's lots of moisture from this marine layer. In the woods down below our house, we have a very similar environment. This reminds me of the area down below our house. The paradox is I drove about 45 minutes to get here to see surroundings that are substantially similar to what I can find just walking out the back door. However, this walk will provide, hopefully, evidence of the San Andreas Fault. The San Andreas Fault goes near to our house, but not through the woods right below the house. So I can tell you for sure that we are on the San Andreas Fault. This is well marked, and the evidence is right here. If you look behind me, you see a post, and that is a marker put up by the people who run the park to mark the path of the San Andreas Fault. The fault zone is not a crisp, thin line. The fault zone may be 1/3 of a mile across, and there are places, locations in this area where the fault zone is quite big. If the fault zone grinds up a lot of rock, and that rock sags down, then water can accumulate in that area. There are lakes called sag ponds, lakes that formed on the fault zone because the terrain dropped down in the area of the fault zone. The San Andreas Reservoir, further up on this peninsula, is a good example of a sag pond. It's a big lake, but it's linear. It follows the path of the San Andreas Fault. So I can tell you we're on the fault. We're on this area of the fault. And one of the reasons we know that is this feature that I'm standing in. You can see a fence right here, but behind me you can see that the fence has shifted several feet. One part of this fence shifted compared to the other part. We come to another feature of the San Andreas Fault behind me. This area right in here, you can see the ground is hollowed. It's lower. And if you look closely, there is evidence that water has accumulated here. Right now it is dry, but this is a sag pond. This is an area where the ground has sunk down, and that allows water to accumulate. Where I'm standing right here, on my left, that is your right, the ground is built up higher. It's taller over here. And this, geologically, is a pressure ridge. This portion of the land was pushed upward as the Pacific plate collided with the North American plate, and the substance of this area needed to go someplace, so it went up. It got compressed and pushed upward. Over to my right, that is your left, you can see an area that's depressed, and this is another sag pond. This place is full of features characteristic of this fault zone. In this section of the trail, we are hiking right down through basically the center of the San Andreas Fault. The people who run this preserve have put up all these markers, and we are zigzagging between the different markers as we go down this little hill. The markers indicate their impression of the center of the San Andreas Fault. It makes sense based on what you see, because there is this ridge to the west of us that they described as a pressure ridge, and this area is somewhat depressed. Here they point out an additional characteristic of this fault zone. When there is a lot of seismic activity, the surface material gets shaken and frequently levels into level plains. And we see one of those behind us right here. Behind me, there's a post just beyond that tree, and it's in the middle of a leveled area that is otherwise not explainable. It's right in the fault zone, and geologists, experts on this matter, tell us that this table-like level area in the fault zone is evidence of seismic activity. These features are formed during earthquakes. So this is the last marker of the trail. It is a loop trail, so I will go back by a different route. I won't retrace my steps. I'll go back to the car by continuing on this loop. Even though I came here primarily to see features of the San Andreas Fault Zone, there was some serendipity here. Serendipity, that's a fine word. Serendipity means you find something unintentionally. You're looking for something, but you find something else. It comes from literature, and I think the reference is the three princes of serendip. And I may be mistaken, but my recollection is that serendip refers to Sri Lanka. I could be mistaken. The expression serendipity comes from that literary reference. So I was coming here for the purpose of seeing the fault zone and making a video that showcased the fault zone. Check, that got done. But something else happened. I found that walking in these woods on an overcast, cool day with clouds all over is very pleasant. It's not hot. It's not tiring. This is a very easy, pleasant walk. From our comments section, I received a message from one of our viewers, one of our followers, who watches these videos in Japan. The message referred to forest bathing. Now, I've heard that term before, and my recollection was that the concept came to us from Japan. That is, going out into the woods and absorbing the goodness from the woods. I really do like that concept. I think there are benefits to coming out in the woods on several levels. Psychologically, it's good for us, but also biologically. Years ago, I did a lot of reading on the topic of the microbiome. Micro, that is, things that are too small to be seen, and bio, that is, things that are living. When you put this word together, microbiome, what you're referring to is the microbial life that inhabits our body. We have trillions of microbes in our gastrointestinal tract, and a lot are on the surface of the body. Our skin, our hair, various surface features all have their own microbial life that comes along with us as we live our life. Some people think of the microbiome as hitchhikers. That is, we're transporting them from point A to point B. The scientific evidence suggests that we have a symbiotic relationship with these organisms. With symbiosis, both partners in a symbiosis get benefit. So we provide an environment in which these microbes can live, and in exchange for that, they give us benefits. There are a lot of nutrients that human genetics can't make, but the microbes in our gastrointestinal tract can. So why am I telling you all this? Well, the evidence is that healthier people have more different kinds of bacteria, fungi, and viruses in their microbiome. This biodiversity gives us health benefits. It has been suggested that being in nature, being in an environment like this, that is forest bathing, can help us maintain or improve our gut biodiversity. We want biodiversity of our microbiome. This has been a splendid walk. The loop brought me back to this feature, which I showed you earlier. It's nice to be able to demonstrate that a little bit of perseverance and you can accomplish your goal. I invite comments below, and if you like videos like this, be sure to click on this one next. See you soon.